Hey folks, welcome to the Typing Hour, where Mavis Beacon is doing a quick lesson in how to type. Oh, just kidding, of course. Welcome to the original Security Table podcast. The original, the OG, whatever other acronyms the kids are using now. I don't really follow along with the culture, but I know there's some other probably fancy words I could use to describe us as the original, the only, the most important security table. Chris Romeo here, joined by Matt Coles, Izar Tarandash. We are always pushing the boundaries on what is fair, what is good in the world of cybersecurity. We may be opinionated some days. Some days we're not. Yeah, I completely disagree with this entire premise, this entire introduction. So let's start over. Okay, Matt found an article to make us think. It's called The Modernization Imperative. Shifting left is for suckers. Shift down instead. Matt, why don't you set the stage here? Why this article? What brought this to the table?
I was curious what shift down was.
Okay, fair.
As one is.
And I think I can summarize it as shift left is empowering developers and shift down is pave roads in the platform.
All right, folks, thanks for joining us on the Security Table podcast.
But wait,
there's more.
There's more. Paved roads in the what you said?
Pave roads in the platform.
In the platform. Okay. So remember that episode that we had about guardrails and paved roads, and we had a lot of fun with that, right?
It's a recurring theme.
Because at the end of the day, we said, hey, paved road is like the place that you already prepared for people to follow, like it's that road.
Yeah. You make it easy for them. You make it easy for them to be on the path,
right?
To be on the road, and right.
And then you put the guardrails in there because you want to keep them on that path, right? Don't stray off this place that we prepared for you,
right?
And as a theory, I love it. It makes such perfect sense. But I challenge anybody to come up and say this absolutely works. And even more than that, I would say that in my personal experience, it can lead to a lot of frustration. A lot of frustration.
You're talking about paved roads and guardrails specifically?
I'm talking about the whole approach to the fact that we can encapsulate. Oh, you know what? Perhaps that now is a really good time to rehab this conversation because AI. But when we had this conversation, AI wasn't such a big thing, and definitely like AI generated code wasn't such a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
But my point has been that in the places that I have experienced that kind of thing, it always ended up being, sure, we have this toolbox of platform engineered things, and this is how we do things here. But then the impression from the security point of view was that developers were always trying to do the other thing. Like, yeah, we got all these tools and that's great, but now we need to do the other thing. Because now the full stack changed, because now the tools changed, because now we don't do that way. We do that the other way. We do it the shiny way. And the shiny way lags, adoption of the new shiny way lags after the rhythm of change for shiny things. But now that we put AI in place, and AI being such a, totally subjective opinion here, AI being so much better at following guardrails and let's call them, orders than people, perhaps now is the time to really, really lean on those guardrails and paved roads, but for AI, not for people. Lose the expectation that people will do the right thing all the time, and rather say, let's hope that AI does it most of the time. Or even that we only expose to AI those tools that are paved roads and have guardrails. Does that make sense out of my head?
It might have. So I think one of the challenges I think we might be facing with paved roads, and we've seen this before. It's a double-edged sword, I think. Think about let's use the highway system as a good analogy here. When you build all the roads, at what point do you introduce new technology? So if you build paved roads, you get a box of paved roads, right? At what point do you get to introduce the new technology? At what point do you innovate? So do you get trapped in the paved roads?
You bring me back to a conversation we had last week about the going to OWASP by train. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, they have like new high-speed trains. And you corrected me and said, no. They have new trains that can go real fast. Doesn't mean that they actually do right now.
But to Matt, your point, the paved road, the innovation cycle for the paved roads falls on the security team. So use MFA and identity as an example, right? That should be a paved road. We do not want we can all agree we do not want developers creating their own code to interact with our MFA and our identity providers.
Yeah, it's the crypto. Yep. Don't venture on crypto all over again. Yeah.
So that means that the security team and the identity team is responsible for the innovation cycles of identity. And so they have to be upgrading the paved roads, because as a developer, I'm just consuming a paved road. I'm not going to innovate on it. I'm not going to iterate. I'm not going to rework it or anything or refactor it. I'm just going to use it as a thing.
So you're saying a shift down, if we're talking about shift down, is the creation of building blocks on the paved road, is moving innovation away from the developers and onto the backend
for the security functionality.
Sure,
certainly the innovation for the product is they can then focus on innovating the product and making better features than they can on trying to integrate to a security service using a custom piece of code.
We're not back to, I guess we're sort of rebalancing the workload. Shift left was moving a lot of the workload out to developers, and now it's balancing across dev and security teams. We're using a shift down approach.
But shift left wasn't about just letting them do whatever they want. It was about giving them tools to do things correctly earlier right? It wasn't go fend for yourself.
So let's interact with one of the points that was made in this article, because this is the point that I've seen brought up recently. This is an article, we're looking at an article from 2023, but it's still relevant in the conversation today. But I'm seeing this argument that the 2023 article made rehashed by a number of different sources right now on specifically on LinkedIn. And that conclusion, or that statement, or how I call it a hypothesis, says shift left loads too many tasks onto developers, raising burnout. Let's interact with that statement. And I'm curious to see if you guys agree with this. I mean, you know my love of the term shift left, but I still believe in building security in from the very beginning. So
start left.
Shift left is just a marketing term. But I guess, does mandating or incentivizing security tasks early in the development lifecycle, is that really raising burnout?
It depends on how you do it, right? So if you're just throwing the tasks as they are onto the developers and say, no, do this thing before or earlier, it's pointy hair management. You're not doing anything. You just read it at Forbes and you're calling it out now. But if you would follow the things that have been espoused all over the place of this tool is going to give you alerts earlier, this way of doing threat modeling is going to give you more granular results. It's the opposite of the thing. It's not that you're burdening them with more things to do. You are just asking them to react to bad things earlier. right? Because you are embedding that stuff into the loops that they already have. You're doing your static code analysis at the pre-commit stage rather than when the whole thing is building and, oh my God, somebody stopped the build because a comma is out of place.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're arguing against shift left raising burnout or increasing burnout.
Shift left done right.
Yeah, I think the problem with
shift left done right brings things up, so you don't have to shift down.
Yeah, the problem. I think the problem on burnout, I think, is this notion, and it's mentioned, I think, somewhere in this article about, alert overload, right? And so if you shift left enough, you get the alerts before they commit, right? So you're at the individual developer level as opposed to the project level or the code stream level, where you're getting a lot of confusing signals, right? If I make a code change and it gets detected, that comma is out of place before I make that up, before I push that into the CI/CD, and the CI/CD then finds it for me, but alongside everything else it finds, which may have been introduced by me or by others or whatever. It moves it to the developer level, and they did it. Why not them stop it? And that's a easy thing to say, but of course we know that developers have a monumental task in some cases that they're working on.
You just made an argument for running these tools early in the life cycle process, and then small batch size, basically.
Yeah.
You run a SaaS tool against the lines of code you changed. And
this is not a new concept, by the way. We have code analysis in the browser, in the developer IDE for a decade or more. Yeah. I mean, this is not new. Running linters was a thing 50 years ago, right?
But wait, if you want to look at something, if you want to look at something that could be a burden, and actually before we go there, I think that when you connect the idea of how we work with burnout, I think that for developers, one of the biggest things is context switching, right? Same thing with security or AppSec people. I mean, if you force them to work at a pace where they check in code and they're only going to get the security feedback down the road when the CI/CD is putting everything together, in that meantime, they already moved to the next story. They already moved to the next feature. They already moved to the last fix. So you are constantly bringing them forward in time and then back in time, jumping on a timeline of that code. And for each one of these, there is an implicit context switch that requires a lot of energy to get.
So I'm going to beg ignorance here, claim ignorance. Is that a fire and forget situation? In other words, I commit, push commit upstream as a pull request. I move on while the pull request is being processed, or I have to now justify my pull request.
It depends.
So if the PR gets reviewed by the tools, I have to then go fix it, but I'm not going to wait for that to finish, right?
There are some places that you have something about your PR in like seconds, right? And you're going to compile your own branch, and you're going to run the whole CI/CD on your own branch before you do stuff. And that's great. You do get it, perhaps not instantaneously, but you get it very quick. Okay. Some edge conditions, I guess, would have your code clash with somebody else's code, or something get created because of the interaction of two people's new code somewhere. Mm-hmm. And that by itself could be a reason to stop and come back and, okay, let's review this thing now that the code is together. But granted, probably doesn't happen a lot. Many places, I think correctly so, in specific places in the code, still have the human component doing the review. Mm-hmm. And that, as always, slow things down. The review has to be well done. So it could be a big delta between you sending in the PR and you getting feedback back, right? So I think that we can safely say that it goes between seconds and, I don't know, weeks.
But you're still talking about the developer moving on to something else in that interim.
Yeah.
And the context switch that occurs.
Exactly. And
by the way, this doesn't change this, right? Shift left or shift down doesn't fix this problem.
Shift left to a certain point does a bit.
It helps avoid it, right?
But like use secure by design as an example. In the scenario that some people would call shift left, you're going to encourage a solid design process of a new feature with threat modeling up front. Mm-hmm. If you do that well, and to the level that doesn't mean perfect, but to the level that would be the three of us would be happy with, you will uncover some of the challenges that would have manifested themselves as rework later in the cycle. When somebody's found an issue or a pen test found a finding 3 months later or something. And so that's always my argument is, I don't see this burnout as I don't see security being so hard that it's burning people out. That sounds like a whiny kind of
not by
statement.
itself. Not by itself.
But, and I just don't play. I mean, I'm from the old school, we don't, oh, it's too hard. This security thing is making my life. No, shut up and get back to work. I'm sorry. You can send complaints to chris@thetrashcan.com, by the way.
/dev/no.
Yes.
But if you look at the idea that Microsoft pushed for a long time of how to put security in Agile, do everything that you do, but every once in a while have security sprint.
Yeah.
That's the perfect illustration of a good idea badly implemented or badly thought second order consequences, right? Because that's when you would definitely get the burnout, because people would be like constantly jumping back and forth.
Yeah, no. The security. So the way I took that same tact, but I don't know if Microsoft did it this way, but there are some tasks that go into every sprint. There are other tasks that are captured in a security sprint. Was kind of the idea. So you kind of separate it. So like you wouldn't do all your threat modeling in a security sprint, because you do your threat modeling when you pull a user story off the stack to start working on it.
Yeah,
that's
not what Microsoft was suggesting, by the way.
Okay, that's I guess that I must have tweaked it. So maybe I invented that. I don't know.
So where are we? I'd like to make an argument for shift down, and I'm going to use automotive.
How is shift down different than shift right? Because that's the argument. That's the brouhaha that's happening right now with the people that are saying shift left is dead and stupid. Shift right is the answer.
Oh my God!
Shift down
Seriously?
and shift right the same. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can answer that properly or reliably. I think shift right is just undoing shift left. but
no, could be a good working definition.
So shift down is the epitome of paved roads, right? And I'll use. I was mentioning this earlier before we started recording. I'll say it again here. If we use automotive development as an example or model of shift down, you build a platform on which you build multiple models of vehicles, right? So you have Tesla, the way they do the battery system and drivetrain is there's a platform, and then they built different models on top of that without having to re-engineer that, right? Or if you have a base of a product, and then you can build multiple product models on top of that without having to redo a lot of things, and you do shift down as part of that, you'll build things into that platform that developers can make use of. That's the paved roads concept. Shift right, isn't that just moving back to waterfall, basically, or iterative development, where you shift the burden out to the build process?
So I'm going to pull the card of the non-native English speaker here and ask, what do we mean by right? Are we talking the direction, or are we talking right versus
the direction,
wrong?
The direction.
Yeah. So
the opposite of shift left.
I could go with don't shift left, shift not wrong, meaning shift right, shift the way that things should be.
Right is both a direction and a moral compass.
Okay, so here's what
judgment.
Here's what ChatGPT says. Shift right is the practice of moving testing, monitoring, and feedback activities later in the software delivery lifecycle into staging, production, and post-release environments. Focuses on real-world conditions, testing and production, chaos engineering, canary releases. Complement shift left by catching issues that only appear at scale or under live traffic. Relies on strong observability, often tied to DevOps, like feature flags. Shift left, think of it this way. Shift left equals catch defects early. Shift right equals validate and harden in production.
Can we just agree that life is a continuum and there's no need to shift anywhere? You just put the right things in the right place. You front load the things that can be front loaded, and you backload the things that can only be backloaded, and you don't Gartner the fuck off it. It's just a continuum.
That's the tagline right there. Somebody invented these words for no reason other than marketing.
Exactly.
So shift left had validity when it started. Developers were not taking responsibility for things they were doing, and they were relying on the build process to find their problems. Now that we've successfully moved the position into developer responsibility, now we have to reinvent a term for test properly at the end. What? WTF?
Well, I think part of the arguments I've seen is more coming from the ADR side,
application discovery and response,
detection and response. Where it's an agent that's running
ASPM.
Yeah, no. This is an agent running in the application that's discovering all of the problems and blocking them. In real time. So the argument
Joe, the
is
QA guy.
Yeah, the argument is you don't have to worry about the stuff that the developers are putting out because the software, the solution will protect you no matter how bad your code is.
Which is basically don't shift left, rely on the platform to solve all your problems.
Oh, but by the way, I have an agent that checks that agent for problems with that agent, right? Because that agent is software.
I don't see any problems with a multi-agent loop.
No, it's not multi. It's a babushka. I have an agent that runs inside that agent that runs inside the software.
I remember you shift a product that has a single CPU and half as much memory as you really need, and that works wonderfully for all of those monitors.
Perfect. Well, can't we just do all of this? This is the dumbest argument that keeps coming back, and it rears its ugly head every year or so.
Yeah, you need to go. Okay, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Whoever said shift everywhere was right.
I'm starting to think that
just everywhere. Take out the shift. Just everywhere.
Yeah. No, if you just get any application and take away from it all the layers upon layers upon layers of shifts that we put on top of it, the world can run on a Raspberry Pi. Seriously, we add so much craft on top of stuff, and together that craft comes the process for the craft, right? Then we have to oversee the process. Then we have programs. Then we have over the programs you have. I don't know what it's called this week.
So this is exciting. This is an exciting conversation we should have at some point about secure architecture. We should bring in some guests for this, because if you have all these, if you do API driven development, which is mind boggling because that's the way we've always done it. We used to call them SDKs, but if you do API driven, you do all these layers and your containers on containers and services and microservices talking to each other over an internal network or virtual sockets, which we used to call IPC, but now that's all API driven. You just have so much layers of indirection and context switching for the CPU, right? And memory, memory management and locking and all that stuff you have to worry about in the past. Is it really solving all the problems that people think it's solving? Is a monolithic application development just as good these days?
Yes. Simple answer. Yes. Well, think about it. Organizations have gone into microservices and then swooped back around into monolithic
because you have to run Kubernetes in order to run those microservices, and that's
but microservices causes all of that context to have to be shared somehow. It's a great idea in theory. It's not as good in implementation because you still have to share context, and so then you basically have to code 27 times the context that you need from the other microservices. You have to go get it. And so that's why a lot of folks are going back to monolithic or smaller maybe not one monolithic application, but breaking the application into 4 pieces instead of 29 pieces.
Yeah. Whatever happened to a shared database and not having every microservice be, stateless and on its own island, so you have to replicate the database multiple times. Right. That's just a data management problem.
I was fortunate enough to start my career with an amazing guru, a man who I am grateful for every single day. And one of the most important things that he taught me was the best debugger that you can use is printf, right? When you get
C101.
when you get to the point that you have to imagine and create a whole discipline and industry just to be able to see what the heck your microservices are doing, right? Because we over-engineered, we super architects, and we have no clue what this stuff is doing and in which order and who's talking to whom.
We're talking about telemetry at this point, right?
Observability and all that.
Observability, that's what it is.
Yeah. So, you call it.
And I think we may have sort of gone out of bounds here.
We broke the guardrails, is what you're saying.
I mean, we left the cage and we are looking at the zoo from a completely different park, right? I mean, the gorillas are running amok and the giraffes are just looking like, what the hell's doing here?
You went to Disney Animal Kingdom, but somehow you ended up in Universal Studios.
And meanwhile, you think that you are the man at Epcot.
You're in Busch Gardens.
So
I don't think we have a new sponsor, do we?
I don't know. That would be Orlando, wouldn't it?
It has electrolytes. But anyway.
So you're electric?
Lights.
Are you magnetic?
Lights. But but my rant is this. I mean, we tend to overcomplicate things, and then we look around and say, can we do this simpler? Yeah, we can do it simpler. But as soon as we come and do it simpler, you're going to overcomplicate it again because that's the way the people do it.
So it sounds like our big takeaways are universal takeaways. The KISS principle. Keep it simple, silly. We don't use the word stupid here.
But no more than it needs to be.
Yeah. Keep it simple. And then what's old is new again. Shift left, shift right. It just equals SDL.
It feels to me right now that somebody's playing Nintendo and trying to enter the secret code. Up, down, left, 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 up, down, left, A, B, B, C.
You got to be a certain.
You see,
you have to have a certain set of experience to understand what you just said there. I'm very proud of
my latest acquisition.
What is this?
It's a Battlestar Galactica 1978 handheld video game, the one that has like the LED screen. So I am very proud of it. And you know what? It's simple. It does the job. It has exactly 2 buttons to get you to play. And I can spend hours with it. Has no notifications.
And what does it run off of?
A 9-volt battery.
There you go.
The
square batteries, the ones nobody uses except for smoke detectors.
Exactly. Which is where that one came from.
Hold on. I'm gonna pick on your illustration of this little video game here. So it's simple, but it doesn't talk to anything else. It doesn't. It's so simple it almost does nothing.
There's no graphics, no fancy graphics, hardly any sound.
Think about compare it to an Xbox, the latest generation Xbox. I can talk to Matt with a headset. Like we never would do this because I don't play video games, but we could if we wanted to. We could be playing a video game and I could go, "Ha, Matt, I just shot you," or something like that.
So here's the thing.
Here's my hand grenade.
Here's the thing. I'm an avid player of online video games, and I do enjoy them a lot. They bring a level of frustration at times that only a developer can understand. On the other hand, there's something very...
Camera angles is always the hard part.
Let's go with that, but it's worse. But on the other hand, there's much to say of the capability of something so simple to bring you so much joy. And my point is that we should all be able, in my personal philosophy, to find the extremes in this continuum and get joy from both sides. So am I having a lot of fun developing vibe coded stuff? Sure I am. Do I really like to open VI and write a couple of lines of code by myself? Hell yeah. So going to the shift left, shift right, shift up, shift down thing. It's not one or the other.
Yep.
It's if you find joy in it, keep it.
Shift all the things.
So let me ask you this all-important question. Does your Battlestar Galactica toy spark joy?
Yes, it does. That's why I keep it here, right by monitor, right? Because now when I'm waiting for something...
The lady that had the show on Netflix, Marie Kondo.
Yeah. I go and I play with it.
She'd always ask that. And I watched it too. I don't know why. It was so fascinating. It's not my normal...
Since you brought her up, and by the way, with a 9-volt battery, you're be sure that it sparks joy. But
did you try it? Did you lick it? The battery?
You have to,
dude. That's how you test it, right? But the other day, I was watching on YouTube. You know when you go like spelunking on YouTube and you don't really know where you're going to end up. But I spent a long time watching thing about Japanese carpentry and the way that they build structures without using any screws or anything. And it's all about the joints, how really massive pieces of wood connect to each other and hold for hundreds of years.
Okay.
And
kind of like Roman bricks, right? When they...
I don't know. I never looked into Roman bricks, but
that's your next YouTube search.
Yeah, probably. But the thing was that not only practically these things hold together, but to me personally, it was such a joy to just look at these things sliding into place perfectly, effortlessly, right? And just connecting and holding things together. And there's so much to learn in there from the ways that we do things. We have connectors and layers and APIs and emulators and this and that and the other one. We forgot the beauty of simplicity.
Mm-hmm. I don't think we can end on any better note than that. So I'm going to wrap this episode up because that's a thing of beauty. So thanks, folks, for listening to this episode of The Security Table.